Hey, Coach, has got a special guest for you tonight. The world famous George Coltharp is in the house. I don't know about you, George. I try to tell my wife I'm world famous all the time. She never believes me, but you're twice as world famous as I am, so I'm sure everyone will believe you. Here's everyone knows that George came to Hopton and worked with us this year, and I asked a lot of him. He started out on offense. We were out the gate breaking records for points per game. And then we hit a devastating stretch where we needed help on defense. So George flipped over to the defensive side, took our defensive coordinator under his wing, taught him George's system, which is the defense that George has been running. He ran it at 4A schools. He's ran it at Red Spring. He ran it a lot of different places, always had great success with it. And he taught that system and just, almost 4 days. It was because of COVID, I think George flipped over and took over the linebackers on a Monday, and we were playing a game on Thursday because of the COVID weirdness that went on. And I'm going to talk about this. We got the clinic coming up this weekend that me and George are doing, and I'm going to talk about this in the clinic. But George is an elite coach. Honestly, George, you're much more elite than I even knew you were. I think George could easily be a college coordinator on offense and definitely on defense. So in just about a week and a half, George completely changed the attitude of our defense. He's talked about, when I went to him and said, man, I can't believe the confidence level and the shift in attitude of the kids. He said, well, I always think it's air raid on defense. That's the mentality that he brought. He brought a system that was simple, understandable, and it allowed kids to build confidence and play super fast. And man, I can't tell you what me and you have these conversations off video. What you did with that defense, pulling those coaches together and pulling those kids together. And here's my one stat for you. I looked it up just before you clicked on here. Our kind of the watershed moment in our season was we played our third biggest rival in conference game. It was senior night. We had been undefeated on senior night ever since I've been at Hopton. And we went out there and absolutely got our tails kicked. We lost that game 42-28. Well, we moved George over to defense and the next week. And like you said, he had 4 days to prepare for the next opponent, turns it around. We end up playing that same team in the playoffs, first round in the playoffs. We beat that team 56-21 the second time through. So not only was he 3 touchdowns better on defense, but they also got a couple big takeaways for us and allowed us to get the ball more on offense. So we got to score, and they scored one. They scored one on defense. So just a night and day transformation. And man, it was impressive to watch. It's impressive to see you with the kids and to build confidence. And we're not even talking about the stuff you do in the off season. He's really as good as he is during the season. He's worth $2 million. If he's worth $1 million during the season, he's worth $2 million in the off season, as far as working behind the scenes, getting kids eligible, helping kids get recruited. He really functions at an elite level there also. So there it is. I bragged on you a whole bunch, but man, it was impressive seeing what you did in such a short amount of time with those kids. And again, it was the attitude change and the confidence change that was truly impressive. I know your schemes are elite and they're simple for the kids to understand, but man, the attitude change was just night and day different. And that's all because of you. So buddy, thanks for being here. And man, tell us how you do it.
Well, I appreciate it, Coach. And you and I go back so far. And I tell people all the time that the seminal moment in my coaching career is the day we sat in my office at Red Springs and you asked me that question, do you want to run your offense or do you want to run my offense? And that changed everything for me. That got me started on the air raid and all this other stuff. And the defensive portion of that, though, was something that we had developed at my first head coaching job. And, you know, you and I kind of had this conversation today talking about we were going against a spread team before there really were spread teams. So, you know, that was really, really important. And so I think for us, sorry about that. The girls got pizza. You got to play daddy too. You got to be an elite daddy. But, you know, I think for us, we came up with this 3-4 program. I'd always been a 4-4 cover 3 guy. And I had a couple of 6 foot, 175 pound, like linebacker types who weren't getting on the field because we had a 280 pound, you know, or 290 pound 3 technique that couldn't run, but we felt like he was going to. And so we just kind of made that shift. And just like when you got me into the air raid, I mean, we went to Tony Franklin, we went to How Mummy twice. We went and sat down with Lincoln Riley at East Carolina. You know, when I get something, I want to go deep dive in. And the 3-4 for me, I got really fortunate is we had a kid at Red Springs that got into East Carolina. And when he did, I was able to go up there and sit down with Brian Mitchell, who was a 3-4 guy as well, who had gotten his stuff from Bronco Mendenhall, who had gotten his stuff from Dick LeBeau, and had some Rex Ryan stuff in there as well. So I deep dove in that stuff and just kind of developed that system over that time. But and we'll go through the course here in a second, but just let me say this about what you were just talking about the job we did at Hopton this year. Our defensive coaching staff went through things this year that no defensive coaching staff in the history of football went through. The guys that were on our defensive side of the ball are going to be great coaches. You know, one of them I think is already there. The 2 young guys, and especially our D-line coach towards the end of the year, really started becoming, you know, coming into his own. You know, he's a 24-year-old kid, but he's really getting after it. But what Coach Rackley and those guys had to go through with, I mean, we played our first game, we lost against our biggest rival, we lost our linebacking core to COVID, 2-3 days before that, and we played our biggest rival with JV linebackers. And then the following week, we lost the entire defense. So we went and played a varsity game with an entire JV defense. And then, you know, we in a situation where, what did we play? 3 schools that are in our classification during the regular season. You know, so then we picked up 2 big schools, you know, 2 schools that probably had 700-800 more kids than us. So, you know, the job and what was put before Josh and those guys, it was hard to keep the morale with those kids strong because of all the setbacks. And that's one thing, you know, we've said this about our kids at Hopton. You know, we may not have the fastest kids, we may not have the biggest kids, but by God, we got the best kids. They have no quit in them, they have anything. And so I think when you gave me that call on Saturday, my mission was, let's go out there and let's try to have the most fun we can. Let's just attack people and get after it, because we had taken it on the chin a few times. And just, I think kids' confidence levels, because of all the adversity that they had was one of those things we had to address. And the other part of that I think really helped in the process was that our staff does a really good job of decompressing after football games. We always sit down, we talk as a group. Offensive coaches talk about defense, defensive coaches talk about offense. So we had already had, and I had already had some input on saying, hey, we might want to move this kid here and move that kid there. So even though I did take over on Monday, we had kind of put guys in spots where I think they had a chance to be elite. You know, we had moved some Spurs to safeties. We had moved probably our best defensive kid at the beginning of the year was playing free safety. He ended up the year at outside linebacker, which I think he's pretty freaking good there. So, you know, that being said, all of that stuff really played into, okay, what can we do? And so, you know, I sat down with the defensive staff. I shared with them the course that I'm going to go over with you and the stuff that I had put on CoachTube a long time ago about our defense that we had run in a bunch of different places. They dove in it head first. They bought in 100%, and they were just excited. Hey, let's go get after some people, because I think they felt like they were playing catch all year. And then, you know, we finally got on offense and started hitting. And so the basic philosophy, and I think when you're coaching defense, the biggest mistake people make is they make it too complicated. They worry about fronts. They worry about this. They worry about that. And I don't care how good your scheme is. If you can't get lined up right, and if you can't be disciplined enough to not jump off sides, you set yourself behind the 8 ball. And so the deal with what we do defensively is this, and I'm gonna go ahead and share the screen if you don't mind. What we do defensively that really helps us. And, you know, we came up with a cool name with it. We never had a name for it, but, you know, I kind of put this attitude of being dog soldiers, and dog for us means defenders of ground, you know. So, you know, we get that dog soldier attitude, and we bring all those guys together. We use some of the Navy SEAL stuff, you know, lessons from Navy SEALs, you know, like the only easy day was yesterday, you know, kind of those mindsets of, you know, doing those things, you know, don't run yourself into getting killed, you know, those kind of things. So read your keys, doing those little things. And so that's kind of what we did. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of run everybody through the first course and kind of give them, you know, basically a little bit of the philosophy, a little bit of the personnel. I think one of the unique things that we do defensively is how we call our strength and our pod system that makes everything simple. And then talk about a little bit about flows. You know, we want to be an attacking defense, just like in the air raid. I mean, we're going to go after you. We're going to go find grass. We're going to attack that grass. We're going to try to get you as hard as we can. We're going to play as fast as we can. We want to get as many snaps. Defensively, it's the same thing. I never felt like if I was going to be an air raid offense, I could play a base, you know, 50 cover 2 defense, because it's just two different philosophies. You know, one of them's kind of a bend but don't break kind of thing. And, you know, the other one is, hey, let's get it. So I wanted my defense to be aggressive. We want to take chances. I mean, because here's the thing, if you know your offense can score, you know, if you know your offense can score, then you should be able to take chances on defense. So I always felt as a coordinator, even when you move me to the defensive side, I knew if we made them punt twice, we probably were going to win. And that's kind of what happened in that run. You know, we stopped them on 4th down a couple of times. We created a couple of turnovers, gave you 2 or 3 more possessions on offense, and that's where we were able to shut the gap down. And I think that was the biggest difference in the Lakewood game. I mean, they come out and score first play of the game. I mean, bang, 60-yard touchdown. And I'm just like, oh God, here we go again. And then you turn around and score the first play of the game. You know, I don't think I've ever been in a game where both offenses scored in one play. We scored on one play, they scored on one play, then you turn around, throw a 6 call and score, and we're back into it. And, you know, I'm just telling the defensive guys, hey man, just keep slipping the jab, be patient, don't worry, everything's gonna be fine, stay calm, do the things we've coached you to do. And so that's what happened. So we're gonna blitz from multiple points. We're not gonna come from the same side every time. You know, very, very easy. You know, we play a 4-0-4, so we're gonna be 2 head up. You know, with a 0 in the middle. I know a lot of guys are playing that tight front now. We're not really a tight front team, even though our 4 techniques are head up. They're really B gap players. We don't ask any of our guys to 2 gap or anything like that. And we always want to play lateral down the line of scrimmage with our D line, unless we're asking them to, you know, to penetrate. And the one thing that we tell our nose's job is to create bad snaps. We want him to hit the center every time, and then we want to get his head in front side A. So as he's hitting that center, you know, he's going to hit that center right here, and he's trying to find the ball. And if the ball's going this way, he's going to press and get his head over here. If it's going that way, he's going to press and get it over there. You know, that's really what we want him to do. And then, you know, we're going to be a linebacker-driven defense, and we're fortunate. We've got, I think we've got 2 guys who are pretty elite level. We've got one inside linebacker guy, I think is probably a group of 5 guy that's coming back this year. And then our outside linebacker guy he's an FCS group of 5 strong safety type kid. And then the great thing is that we took a kid that transferred in, played wide receiver at another school, and he ended up playing every position on the field, and he ended up doing a pretty good job playing weak side outside linebacker for us. And then we started a sophomore at the other inside backer. And so, you know, that kid got better and better as the year went on. I'm really looking forward to him. And then the other thing, talking about getting aligned right for us, is we always call the strength to the field. Okay. You know, we're not going to say, hey, if you put the tight end on the right-hand side and you got twins on the left-hand side, our front strength is to the right, our secondary strength is to the left. I mean, there's a lot of guys that do it that way. But the way I learned the 3-4 from Joe Nixon and from Brian Mitchell and those guys, this is, to me, it just makes a lot of sense. And for the kids, they don't have to think anymore. You know, they just they get to where they're supposed to be, and then whatever's put in front of them, we teach them how to adjust to it. So it helps us get lined up so much faster. You know, our outside linebackers, I call them Sam and Whip, and our inside linebackers are Joker and Mike. And then we have our two ends. One of them is the Tank, the other one's the Ed. Ed comes from Rex Ryan. I don't know why we call him Ed, but he's just, that's what it is. When I learn something, I just kind of keep it what it was. And then our nose is just a nose. Then we have a field corner and a boundary corner. Our field corner, we want to be the cover guy. The boundary corner, we want to be the, you know, more the run support dude. So that's kind of what we're looking for. And then we have our Rover and our Fox in the secondary. So, you know, no big deal. But like I said, we're going to group into 2 pods. And so our strong pod is our Sam, Tank, Joker, and Rover. And then our weak pod is our Whip, Ed, Mike, and Fox. And so it kind of looks like this. Okay, so if we get a, you know, just an open set right there, you know, Sam, Tank, Joker, and Rover are all going to go, you know, where they're supposed to, you know, to the strong side of the field. And then our Mike, Ed, Whip, and Fox are going to go to our weak side of the field. And so that part of it makes it really good. And then we have some unique rules with our outside linebackers. Our outside linebackers, we don't split the difference all the way. They have a 7-yard boundary because I always want them to be a blitz threat. So, you know, we'll tell Sam, hey, you know, normally if it's a regular set and we're in some kind of different coverage, whether it's a cover 1 or whatever it is, but, you know, he'll be 2-by-2 off the end man on the line of scrimmage if there's no tight end. But in a situation right here, our Sam will split the difference of that Y up to 7 yards. And then we'll move around and I encourage our guys to move. You know, I want the Joker to step up in the line of scrimmage or stay. I mean, Joker can step up in weak side B for all I care, as long as where he's supposed to be when the ball snapped is the most important thing. So, you know, we want to move around. We want to kind of create some confusion in the offense, you know, offensive mindsets. So our basic adjustments are this though. So like I said, since everything is to the field, if Sam gets a tight end, he's going to line up in a 6 technique. He's going to be head up on that tight end. His job is to jam that tight end, and he becomes the C-gap player. The Rover now is the force player. And, you know, we're going to set our feet at about 10. And, you know, I learned this a long time ago. One of the defensive coordinators worked for me when I was a very young head coach, John Grady, one of the best football coaches I've ever been around. John used to always say, as far as safety play is concerned, the better you are, the closer you can play. And so I tried to convince our safeties that they were good enough to play at 10, because we play so many wing T type run teams that we wanted to be able to run those fields. And early in the year, they were so scared. And a lot of it was because we couldn't get any pressure on anybody because we had young guys. You know, they're playing 12, 15 yards back, and it's almost like we're playing 9 on 11 defense. And so that was, you know, kind of matter of fact, we were talking about recruiting. I just got a text message from a D2 coach talking about our inside linebacker. He said he just watched his film. So, you know, we're trying to get that out there too. And then if we get a tight end to the boundary, the whip is going to be a 9 technique. He becomes the contained guy. So if you get a tight end to the boundary, he's going to line up outside. If you get a tight end to the field, he's going to line up head up and play inside. So the whip has to be a force player. And then on the other side, the Rover will be a force player. So, you know, it's nothing like super, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's doing that. I'd never heard of that before. It's just very, very basic rules, because we don't want them to think. We want them to run. You know, and on defense, we're going to have that Sam and Whip split that difference up to 7 yards if we get 2 receivers on the same side. Option rules are just like always, you know, if you're an A-gap player, B-gap player, you got dive. C-gap player, you're going to play the quarterback. And I like to slow play the quarterback. I don't run to him. And one of the things that I tell our guys when we're playing option teams is which one of those guys can beat us. If the quarterback is the dude, we want to slow play that quarterback and make him pitch that football, or we'll go straight to him and make him pitch that football. If the tailback's the dude, we want to slow play the quarterback and make him think about it and run straight to the tailback and take away the biggest threat. So, you know, it's really kind of seeing, you can see right here in the adjustments, you can see how, you know, we just got let's say it was two tights, two splits. You know, Sam's going to line up right here over the Y, head up, and then the whip is going to be outside. And then there's our regular adjustments. The other thing that I do with our secondary, a lot of guys will tell their corners, okay, I want you 1x7 outside or 1x7 inside. I want our corners to mix that up depending on down and distance and things like that. If we know it's a third down, I want you to play 1x7 and force them to the sideline. You know, the best DB in football is the sideline. That joker's never given up a catch. So why not use him? You know, I don't want to funnel that guy into that safety. I want to funnel and ride him and ride him to that sideline. And if they beat us over top, you know, hey, congratulations, good for you. But I'm not going to give you something easy. So that's kind of our adjustment on that little deal right there. And you can see how in this picture, Rover is kind of up further because now he is the force player to the field because we have a tight end on that side right there. So it's, you know, it's a very, very basic adjustment. Here you can see 2x2 adjustment. You can see where Sam and Whip now are kind of 1x7. And a lot of that, the reason why we do that in our stunt game, and I'm going to give 50 of these away. So if you're watching the video and you want to see this course on CoachTube, you can go over to CoachTube, sign up for it. And if you use the code Salas 2021, you'll get a free copy of chapter 1 of the DogSoldier. So you can go in, get all of this. There's actually a whole game in this course. Like I threw a whole game from when I was at another school that you can watch a whole game of the defense. I mean, it's the good, bad, and ugly, but you can watch the whole game uncut, kind of see what we do, see how we align to certain things. There's also a copy of the practice schedule that we use for there and there, but I'm gonna give away 50 free copies of it. And you can get a hold of this stuff, and it's got all the run fits and all that stuff in there. So just use that code Salas 2021 to do that. But the thing about that 7-yard rule though, is if you're a box counter, you know, we'll talk about this Sunday night in our clinic. You know, when we're looking at the run game, we're looking at that box. And if it's a 5-man box, we get excited. You know, it's like, okay, we can run the football. But with these guys being that close, they can fall in now and +1 to that side. If you're out there playing match or something like that, and now the whip is over top of H and the Sam is over top of Y or whatever, now it is a truly 5-man box, and you kind of get yourself in trouble. So we want to play around. We don't want this quarterback to have to worry about these guys coming off the edge and doing certain things like that. So, you know, we have several different front packages. You know, we have our base, our under, over. And I think that was one of the things that surprised me the most is I don't like staying in one front. I also like shifting fronts. You know, we have something we call spin where, you know, we'll spin to a certain front. You know, we'll start off an odd and say we want to spin to under. So like when they start their cadence, we'll shift. So we were able to give 3 or 4 different fronts to the offenses that saw us those last 4 or 5 games. Whereas before, I mean, you coach it well. I can't coach your defense. You're a slant angle guy and you're really good at it. I'm not that dude. I can't. That's, you know, we were talking about our air raid stuff today, how you said I'm way more flashy in the air raid than you are. You know, you're just kind of you're vanilla green. All, you know, it's the same way defensively. You know, you're really good at what you do. You do a blitz and stuff, but you're more of a slant angle guy, and I'm more of a, you know, fire zone, show 3 or 4 different front kind of guy, and so that's why we were able to do some things. We were able to shift those fronts. But we had very few misalignments. And that goes back to what I was talking about with Coach Tart, you know, our young defensive line coach, man. I really, really talked to him about, you got to coach those guys every play, make sure they get lined up, get over there on the barrels. And he'd spend 10 or 15 minutes on the barrels with those guys every day. And they knew when we called under, they did this when they called over. And so when we started spinning, I remember you saying that after the first game, you were like, dude, that was impressive how you guys are, you know, we were in practice and you were like, y'all were moving the ball, you know, moving around. And it was just, you know, and that's really what it was. But it was so simple because the strong side guys were always on the strong. So they knew if they went, you know, the strong and the tank, he knows if he hears under, you know, I'm going to a 5 technique. It doesn't matter if I'm on the right or the left. he knows I'm going to a 5 technique.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the most impressive things is very few
Hold on, I didn't hear you.
misalignments.
Say that one more time, coach.
I said I thought that was one of the more impressive parts of the defense was there was very few misalignments. Even though you were showing multiple fronts and even started stemming at the last second, and the kids knew exactly how to get lined up. I thought that was super impressive.
Well, the pods help with that so much, and then with the way and I stole this from you, you know, the way that we played that 4 across coverage in the back, and the way Coach Rackley had those guys just, you know, hey, stay right here, and he coached those guys up so well in individual period. You know, it was pretty easy to do, because like I said, it wasn't that we were horrible on defense. We just had so much adversity. Like, you know, you just, it's hard to come back from. And it was the shot in the arm that we needed to come in and do this kind of attack in front type thing. And the kids just got really excited. And, you know, we changed up some things, you know, throughout the year. We had changed who we were reading in certain situations and stuff like that. And we just kind of went stone cold with it. And we said, hey, you know, safeties, you guys are lining up here. You're reading in man on line of scrimmage, high hat, low hat, you know, do that, you know, just kind of old school, you know, and then our key drill is so important to what we do. And I'll talk about that in a second when we get over to the practice schedule. But you can kind of just see our odd and our under. I mean, it's nothing, you know, it's nothing, you know, crazy that nobody's ever done, but it gives us a 4-3 look. It gives us a 50 look. It gives us a sync look, you know, which is our 4-6 look. And that you got a 4-6 video on your channel. That's just freaking ridiculous. That guy's amazing. You need to get him back on the channel, because I want to watch more of him. I'd like to sit down and just talk with him a little bit. But, you know, this right here, I got this from Rex Ryan. Watched a lot of his stuff, looked at a lot of his stuff, researched a lot of his stuff. But, you know, taking that joker and putting him at a 7 inside that tight end, and then having the Sam right here, that really puts him in a bind if you got a strong side running team. And then, you know, they're just putting the rover down in the box. And so that's really, really some good stuff for us. And then, like I said, man, you know, you can go through a lot of this stuff, and you know, we have a little nickel package that we run from time to time. It's a little bit more complicated. You know, we don't throw nickel in at first, but we were able to, you know, to throw it in kind of. We had I think it was the first game, it was a 2 tight double wing team or something like that. You know, they had like a 300-pound tailback, so we didn't really have to worry about throwing nickel in right away. But the other thing that we try to teach them is 3 types of flows: hard flow coming downhill, angle flow going out tackle, and then fast flow. And those 3 concepts really fit into our key drill. You know, we really wanted to teach those kids how to fit. You know, if you got hard flow, you know, right now you're going to hit the first clear, you know, and then, you know, I would, you know, I would tell my backside inside linebacker, you know, hey, flow, you know, angle away, front side A. You know, we teach them to run through front side A. And then if, as he ran that angle, if it was full, he was going to find the next open hole and hit it. And so we had a lot of mnemonics like that, and I would make them say it in practice. I mean, you can hear this is just an example of hard flow. And so, you know, the joker's going to read that guy. If he blocks down, he's going to field. You know, it's very easy, nothing complicated. You know, there's a lot of guys who coach defense a lot better than I do. But I think you and I both know that when you get into that situation where it's those little coaching terms that make the biggest difference. It's not the scheme, it's how you teach the scheme. And over the years, I've just been able to develop those couple little things of how we would read stuff, you know, just like, for instance, right here, you know, Whip, he's going to read that fish, you know, everybody calls him a sniffer or whatever. I always call him a fish, because when he's lining up there, something fishy is going to happen. You know, something fishy is going to happen. So you got to know. So, you know, he's going to near back that guy. He's going to near back this guy. These guys are reading guard to near back. So he'll go guard to here and he'll go guard to there. And it never changes. And then, you know, he's going to read in man line of scrimmage, see high hat. If he gets a high hat, then he's going to coverage. If he gets low hat, he's coming downhill, you know, to field. You know, no big deal on that. Now, and I will say this, the 2 guys that we have back here right now, not the greatest athletes in the world, but they're both very intelligent. And over the years, I've been able to get away with lesser athletes at the safety position if they're smart. You know, a lot of guys want to put those big dudes back there who can run. I think you want to be athletic at corner, but you can get away with a lesser athlete at safety if he's smart and puts himself in the right position. You know, this kid is AG. This kid's got really good grades as well. You know, his mom's like a PA or something like that. So both of those kids, you know, they're adequate athletes, but you're not gonna go out there and say, whoa. But those kids, they're always in the right spot. They tackle well. They're tough, and you know, that really puts you in a good situation, especially when you're getting into the role. If you're going to go 3 under 3 deep, making sure you have guys in the right situation. And if you look at the blitz course, you'll see blitzing. You know, we do a lot of 3 under 3 deep with that stuff, and that's where those guys have to be very, very important. But let me go over here and share the practice schedule, kind of give some people the idea of kind of how we practice this stuff. So really what it looks like is, you know, this is kind of how I would practice it. Now we do things a little bit different, and I got a video on my channel about how we practice at Hopton with our 2 platoon system. So, and it still works that way. But, you know, generally speaking, if you're just going to run this defense, you know, we do 5 minutes of pursuits every day. We only run 2. You know, it's not one, and there ain't no do-overs. You just do the ones do 2, the 2 do 2s. And you know, we set the buckets down, and then your JV runs 2. So you get that done in 5 minutes, and then you're going to fronts and stunts. And we kind of do it differently at Hopton, because at first when we were doing key drill first, and then once I took over the defense, whenever you were yelling key drill, we really were doing fronts and stunts. We would get over on the barrels, and we were lining up, we were running our stunts, making sure everybody knew where to go. So we would spend that 10-minute period that you gave us every day. We had kind of gotten keys down, so we didn't need that as much during that period of time. So we really wanted to front and stunt. Now, if we're in a regular season, we'll key every day, but we were kind of pressed for time and wanted to make sure guys could do what we needed them to do. And so, you know, we'll do 5 minutes of pursuits, 5 minutes of fronts and stunts. You know, you set the barrels up. And one of the things I learned is you put the 1s on one side of the barrels and the 2s on the other side of the barrels. And so the 1s run the stunt, and then when they reset, the 2s running the stunt. So you're getting double the reps really, really fast. It works out really, really well. And then you got guys who are trained up on how to do that. I think, and this is where we got better during that 4 or 5 week period, is in our EDDs. You know, I kind of talked to the defensive coaches and said, hey, listen, let's make sure we're doing this every day. Let's make sure we're doing that every day. And so, you know, linebacker wise, you know, we'd go to the sled every day. You know, we would do, you know, that squeeze drill. We'd go over there with you to offensive line and really work on squeezing and spilling every day. And, you know, then we would do some left sled stuff and some angle stuff. And then we would go over and work with the DBs and perimeter drill, where we're looking at how we want to go to screens, you know, how we want to look at crossers and things like that. You know, we want to try to wall off crossers and do different things like that. So, and then in Skelly, you know, I like to just look at 4 best passes. I'm not one of these guys, you know, I'm going to watch the film. I'm going to run the reports. I know you used to say, you run that report. Yeah, man. I mean, I know the report, you know, but I really want to see, what are your 4 best passes? What are your 3 best runs? And then in team period, that's what I want to see. So when I would give you the cards, I say, hey, look, these are the 3 runs, you know, these are the 4 passes, you know, do it however you want to do it. And then, you know, we're just calling stuff. And then on Thursday, just like you on offense, you know, last play and things, we're going to show them special plays and stuff like that. But I don't want to cloud their mind with a bunch of stuff, because you and I both know that when it's butt cutting time, people are going to do what they do. You know, if we need a yard, we're going to run counter. You know, that's how we are offensively. So that's kind of, you know, that's just kind of that thing. And this is in the package as well. And so it's just one of those things where we, you know, just tried to be as basic as we could be without really confusing folks. So, you know, that's just kind of the way that the defense works. You know, there's the fast flow stuff, and you know, that's kind of where it is.
Well, I'll tell you, it was impressive watching you do it in such a short amount of time. It's impressive how dynamic it seems while being obviously simple enough that the kids, they got lined up and they executed their stuff. It was just, and the attitude change was
back with you now?
just unbelievable.
That speaker went up. Am I back with you yet, Joe?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, cool. I got a bunch of different screens showing, and it's.
So tell us one more time about the code.
Yeah, it's just your last name, Salas, and then 2021. If you have a CoachTube account and you want to look it up, it's called the DogSoldier defense. If you just type in 92 mesh script, it'll pop up, and you can get a copy of that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have I know that I have there's a full game in there. And let's see if I can find it.
And tell me one more time. The one they're gonna get is DogSoldier.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up and I'll show them real quick. And there's 3 courses and an install playbook. I'm gonna give them part 1 for free. There is an install playbook that shows everything, kind of how we do it. But you can see right here, if you just go to CoachTube, just look up DogSoldier defense like that, and then you can kind of see there is the course presentation. There's a full game, so you can go in and actually watch a full game. This is us right here. And this is us against a really good team, and we weren't even supposed to win that game, and we got a sack at the end of the game to win it. The other cool thing about this is I've had the conference defensive player of the year 3 times in this defense at 3 different schools. Twice it's been the weak side defensive end. The other time it was one of those linebackers. But you can kind of see, based on who you are, kind of how we're getting there. I mean, we're getting to the football, we're running. And this game here, I mean, it's a full game. It's the whole, you can watch, kind of get an idea of how we call it. You can kind of see us, right here, we're playing a little pressure. This is a little bit of our nickel package, getting after the quarterback. And that kid right there, actually, the quarterback for that team right there ends up being a linebacker at Campbell. He's a heck of an athlete. But yeah, you just go in, you hit purchase course. Obviously, this is my part. You hit purchase course, and you can get a copy of that, and then go from there. Where is my other screen? I got too much stuff, Coach.
Too fancy.
Well, I tell you, man, you and I were talking about this today. We took so much time off we took time off from football, and I didn't make a video for about a month. So I'm still trying to remember how to use all my daggone stuff. But we just put a video. I put a video up today, and it finally felt normal making a video again. But yeah, that's just kind of it. It's that attacking attitude. Just really, really blitzing. Everywhere I've put it in, the kids love it. You can get it put in 2 or 3 days. It's kind of the same idea of the air raid, kind of doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over.
Well, brother, I appreciate you coming on and doing this. It was impressive to watch you put it in literally 2 or 3 days, and it's impressive to see how the kids responded to it, and obviously the results you got. We were a different team once you got over there and put this thing in, and all of a sudden we could play defense, and we became pretty dangerous.
Well, like I said, man, I can't say this enough. When you and I talked about it, you basically said, go do it, do whatever you need to do. And then when I had a chance to talk to the other defensive coaches, they just jumped in 2 feet and really worked their hind parts off. And they watched the courses. I gave them the courses for free. They watched all 3 of the courses, and they came back and they had all kind of questions and were excited about it. And then they were able to put some of their own little spin on it. And they're a great group of guys. I mean, not only do we have, like I said, we may not have the best players in the world, but we got the best kids, and it's the same way with our coaches. Our coaches, they'll work hard, and you know, they're loyal, and they just want to do the best for our kids. And it was a great situation for me to fall into. And it was just, our kids were just hungry for success because of all the adversity they had been through. And you know, I'm looking forward to next year. I think we're bringing back 10 of 11 starters on defense, which is a good thing. And got some young kids coming up from middle school. I think that might help us early. And you know, offensively, I think we got a chance to be pretty good too again. So you know, it's a great situation to be in, man. And I would tell anybody, you know, if you're in love with going to big schools and stuff like that, man, there's nothing like coaching at a small school. And I've really enjoyed being at Hopton, and I look forward to us, you know, having better success next year.
All right, brother. Well, one more time, and I'll put all the stuff in the show notes. It's CoachTube DogSoldier Part 1.
Yep.
And I'll put the code in the show notes so you can go get that Part 1 for free.
Yep.
And then I tell you, George, I really appreciate it, man, and you did a great job.
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.